Hey folks, this is the Qidi Q2 combo in its latest version, a printer with impressive hardware specs that costs less than the P2S and also offers more and even better hardware in some areas. Compared to what I have seen of older versions of the Q2 and the Qidi box, it has been improved a lot and is now a very capable machine. In this review I will show you all about its strength, weaknesses and oddities, and at the same time compare it with the P2S from Bambu Lab, because the two printers are quite similar in their performance, but in many cases approach things in total different ways, which is very interesting and shows the pros and cons of both devices, so that you can decide which one is right for you. Full disclosure, the printer was provided to me by Qidi for this review. I get zero money for it and will for sure show you everything, good and bad, you will see. Let's start with a quick look on the hardware. The feature list is quite impressive. You get active chamber heating, a linear rail instead of guide rods, a hot end that goes up to 370 degrees, finer 1.5mm belts, standard is 2mm, for less of these vertical fine artifacts, a hardened steel dual gear extruder as well as a hardened steel nozzle. Some of these are features you normally associate with much more expensive machines. On top of that, there's automatic bed leveling, vibration compensation, open clipper firmware and multicolor compatibility through this Qidi box that rattles like this. Oh, I don't mind. But good hardware is only half the battle, because it also has to be properly integrated in order for something good to come out of it. We will take a close look at the overall performance and how it compares to this guy, right after the sponsor of this video, which is Wolfbox, a company that builds high-end devices of various kinds, does a lot in the field of car tech, equipment and van life, and sent me this air duster at my request, a device that was missing in my workshop and that has helped me not only but also with cleaning and maintaining my 3D printers since I received it. The MegaFlow 200 Air Duster. And the name says it, because this small and wireless device achieves wind speeds up to 315 km per hour, which can be a bit too strong for blowing out a fan, so it's good that you can adjust it in 3 stages. It comes with swappable batteries, nice, and for cleaning the build chamber, I then set the thing to full power. Filament has been lying around for some time and workshop quite dusty, no problem, this dust won't end up in my prints. There are 4 different nozzles for every application. Ever wondered if you can move your top glass plate with compressed air? The answer is yes, you just need enough of it. If you need a high-end air duster, it's worth taking a look at Wolfbox. First link in the description. Now back to the Q2 from Qidi. The launch of the Q2 was a bit mixed at best. Earlier reviews criticized usability and overall polish, but keep in mind that many of these reviews were based on pre-production or early review units. What I'm testing here is the current retail version of the Q2 along with the revised Qidi box. Big difference there, because since then there were at least 3 revised versions as far as I can tell, and especially the Qidi box seems to have improved a lot compared to its early versions. You can still see this in the documents that came with my printer. Here it still says that you have to install the new toolhead that comes with it, but it is already installed in this version, and the setup was much less of a tinkering job than I have seen from other reviews. It was straightforward. The only whoopsie I made was that I forgot to remove 2 parts on the print bed, and that sounded like this. I switched the printer off immediately and removed these 2 parts. They were not described anywhere in the manual. With the P2S I also forgot to remove a piece when setting it up, but that would have been described in the manual, if I had read it. Other than that, the setup was the normal 30 minutes experience you have nowadays with most enclosed printers. Only this PTFE tube here was a bit too long for my taste. A bit short now, but it works. Let's talk about print quality. Both printers are strong here, with some differences. Overall, the Q2 and the P2S are on a similar level. If I hadn't labeled the parts, I would not know which one is from which printer. The filament had some stringing because it wasn't dry. Here is a look on the overhangs. They look the same and very good. The walls also look quite the same. so I don't really see much of a difference. The P2S prints a bit faster, the Q2 shows less of these vibrations, which could be due to the linear rails, finer belts or more conservative factory tuning. I honestly don't know, but you see less of these on the Q2. In everyday printing, results on the Q2 looked consistently good, and in some cases even slightly better than on the P2S, except in the case of overhangs with PLA, when printed at the fastest possible speed, like on the pre-sliced Banshee. Qidi probably just wanted to show that it can print something in 70 minutes. Here it becomes noticeable that the Q2 does not have enough part cooling for this excessively high speed, as can be seen here on all the overhang sections, and with my self-sliced Banshee everything then looked top quality again. This took 25 minutes with the standard settings for PLA, 17 minutes was too fast and not enough cooling for this speed. You don't have to adjust anything, the default settings for PLA are good, only the pre-sliced Banshee was a bit overconfident, considering the cooling performance. So definitely open everything you can on the printer. This way you can also achieve good results on overhangs with PLA. The P2S does not need much tinkering out of the box, it has stronger part cooling and shows less problems on overhangs. Both printers make the first layer very reliably, so the automatic bed leveling works well with both and I don't see any differences. The Q2 combo has its strength in printing more demanding materials, ABS, ASA, nylon, and has also advantages on abrasive filaments with added carbon and glass fiber, or the stuff that glows in the dark, plutonium. It's actually something else. One of the biggest advantages here is the active chamber heating that you will only find in Bambu's lineup in the much more expensive H2 series. Filaments like ABS and ASA are prone to warping, especially when temperatures are too low or fluctuate. An enclosed printer helps, but active chamber heating makes even more of a difference. Compared to my Bambu P2S, which only heats the chamber passively, the Q2 reaches higher chamber temperature and does it faster. That means not only less warping, but with most of the hotter materials, also way better layer adhesion. There, the higher temperatures in the chamber, let it be 50 degrees on the P2S on a good day, compared to a constant 65 degrees on the Q2, makes a big difference, and ultimately stronger parts, especially in the set direction when printing filaments like ABS. Both printers have hardened steel extruder gears and nozzles for handling abrasive filaments, but the AMS2 from Bambu don't let you print these. You can feed them from an external spool or have to buy the AMS HT, which I did. The Qidi box lets you use abrasive materials, no workaround or accessories needed. Another important topic is exhaust filtration. All filaments release more or less unpleasant substances into the air during printing, but ABS is probably the most smellable, strong and unpleasant, and also causes discomfort if you breathe it for too long. The Bambu P2S is often criticized for not having an exhaust filtration. The Q2 comes with a proper exhaust system and a multi-stage filter with activated carbon and HEPA, and you can tell the difference. The smell is noticeably reduced, although you can still smell it, and I still wouldn't want to sit next to it while printing ABS, which is why I prefer to access it remotely as much as possible. Qidi and Bambu take very different approaches here. Bambu uses a cloud system that sends your data first to China and then back to your printer. Great. But I have to say it works well and you can even access it on the go outside of your local network. Don't bother to try this on the Qidi app. At the moment the Q2 is not even available there. Qidi keeps everything local, you just enter the printer's IP address in your browser and land directly in the Fluid interface. There you find everything you need. You even have access to the Qidi box, but only if you are within the range of your home network. It is to say that the P2S also has the better camera, I would even say the best in its class. The one of the Q2 is not as fluid and crisp. Both allow you to make time lapses of your prints. The Q2 has internal storage. For the P2S you have to buy or find a USB stick that is compatible. Let's now take a closer look at how the multi-filament systems compare. The Qidi box has an integrated power supply and let you dry filament up to 65 degrees even while printing. To print and dry at the same time, with the AMS2 you have to buy an additional power supply. So it also can do that, but at an extra cost. Filament loading is a bit more convenient on the Qidi box. You just insert it in the hole and it feeds automatically. No two-hand operation required there. But when unloading, the Qidi box does this. No. Okay. Now that you know, you can just guide the filament between your fingers when unloading. But I think it's a pity that it's like that. Multicolor printing works fine on both systems, but I rarely use it because of the amount of waste. For simple color changes, I find it useful and it extends the capabilities of both printers. For frequent multicolor work, a tool changer would be the better option regarding time and produced waste. Oh yeah, and both systems do not work reliably with cardboard spools. With the Qidi box, you can use the middle two compartments. The side compartments have such protruding parts that center the plastic spools, but very quickly lead to jamming with cardboard ones. The middle compartments don't have that, and if the cardboard spool still has enough material on it and is in better shape than my spool, which looks like I've dropped it twice every time I used it, then it usually works. If the spool is nearing the end and no longer has enough weight, it then gets increasingly more jammed in the Qidi box.
Oh, and the same goes for the AMS too. To be able to use cardboard spools, I have designed such a spool adapter which surrounds the sides of the spool for a smooth operation and has a compartment that can be filled with weights, such as 7 batteries, screws or sand. And I even designed a version that lets you use desiccant, if that's what you want to fill it with. Everything is free to download, links are in the description. This way it works well with the cardboard spools and you don't have to respool them.
By the way, you also get this riser here included with the Qidi box, which I find very useful as you then have everything you need to get started. The riser works well. With the P2S, I had to print one to solve initial problems and can highly recommend the D3P riser, which is all this here. I also made a video about this riser, which you can find at the end of this review. It's also available for the Q2 by the way, but I wanted to test it first with the original part supplied. This thing is simple, does what it's supposed to do and is included, and that is great. In terms of overall user experience, Bambu Lab still has an edge for sure. The P2S is closer to a true plug-and-play machine and easier to recommend to complete beginners. The Q2 is better suited for users who already have some experience with 3D printing. There are a few setup quirks and less hand-holding. Once everything is set up correctly though, the Q2 runs very reliably. But here are some of the things that bothered me. Since I print PCTG from time to time, I noticed that the Q2 out of the box did not have a filament profile for it. It's not a problem if you know how to set up a profile yourself, but such things could be more difficult for a beginner. Also, Bambu Lab does not have a preset for every filament on the planet, but more. And it had a PCTG profile that worked well. The Qidi slicer, which otherwise works well for me, had a 0.2mm nozzle selected when I opened it the first time, which I had overseen, and surprisingly the print didn't look too bad. Well, I stopped it and changed it to the 0.4mm nozzle that is actually installed.
And that was already the solution to the problem. You can tell from little things like this that there is still room for improvement on the software side. For example, if you want to download the time-lapse recordings, it doesn't work on this button, not here either, but then it works on this one. And I would not say this is a printer for everyone.
Just because of little things like that. But as a reliable machine with a few, and in 3D printing quite normal oddities, I would definitely recommend it for someone
who already has a bit of experience or even a beginner who is not afraid to tinker a bit. Which leads us to the
conclusion. The Qidi Q2 offers an overall strong hardware, including an active chamber heater, and is therefore especially for technical and high temperature filaments very interesting, combined with a price to performance ratio that is hard to beat. It's not the most polished or beginner friendly printer on the market, but if you already have some experience and or mainly print the hot materials, the Q2 is a very compelling option. Since abrasive materials can also be used with the Qidi box, this combo has further advantage over the combo variants from Bambu Lab. The print quality is good, with less
such vibrations
compared to the P2S.
Because the part cooling is not as strong, it prints PLA a bit slower, but that is good integrated in the slicer settings, so the results and overall print quality looks almost the same. A proper exhaust air filter and a slightly larger print bed are further advantages over the P2S. Both printers offer a very good overall package. The P2S is more impressive on the software side and allows you to print, I would call it, reliably uncomplicated. The Q2 from Qidi offers a more complete package on the hardware side. and lets you print the more challenging filaments better. And in the combo version with the Qidi box, it already provides everything you need to print with abrasive and high temperature filaments, without having to buy add-ons that make this possible.
There really are advantages to both, and both printers offer a great deal. So which aspects are more important to you? Let me and the others know in the comments. For me, it's great to have them both. I print most PLA stuff on the P2S, PETG and PCTG on both, and ABS, ASA, PC and nylon I prefer printing on the Q2. Oh yeah, and TPU I print on the P2S just because the D3P riser upgrade lets me do this in the most convenient way. As I said, there is also a version for the Q2 of this riser, and here is the video to that. And there is the review of the P2S, where you can see which problems occurred on that printer and how to handle them. That's it from my side. I wish you a good time printing, and we see us in the next one.